Hello there folks, and how is it going? And welcome back to another video, and welcome to the heart of County Wicklow. Today we are going to take a picture of a not so secret waterfall, which actually we found out just on the way here now that it is on Google Maps now, and I'll pop up the name for you on the screen. But it is a really fantastic waterfall, and I have photographed it before, and I've been really looking forward to coming back and sharing it with you guys because it's really gorgeous. Now it's just off the road down a way, so it's a super easy place to get to, and it is located just outside of a wonderful area in County Wicklow called Glenmalure Valley, which is an old glacial valley, which you can kind of see behind me here, I hope. County Wicklow itself is affectionately known as the Garden of Ireland, and as we were driving through here, you really see why it is, because it's so beautiful and so green, and it really is like a big lovely garden. So anyways, enough of this mad rambling, and let's have a wander down and see what we can see. Hopefully, actually it's been raining the last few days, so hopefully the waterfall, we get some decent flow, and with the sky being kind of clear as well, there is a canopy, so ideally we could get some nice dappled light through that canopy. Anyways, well, stop rambling and let's make our way down there now and have a look and see what we can do. So the turn off to get down to this waterfall is actually quite obscure, or you used to have to be in the know in order to find it, but obviously with it being on Google now, it's a bit easier. But it's a very, you'd walk past it no problem. And this, we're actually on the Wicklow Way as well, so you would walk past it without, you'd hear it of course, but it's very easy to miss. But anyways, it's on Google Maps, so we'll be fine. Actually really wonderful walking through these forests again, and it's so vastly different to what we were walking around in Portugal. And it was one thing that Orla and I were really looking forward to doing again coming home, is to just be able to walk through these really beautiful woodlands, and it's really gorgeous. Now I have a feeling that my feet are going to get nice and wet, which is always a good thing when photographing, but it is, even just standing here now, just looking over there, is absolutely wonderful. So let's keep going and let's get down there. Here's hoping I don't fall on my ass. So we have made it. It's not a very difficult way down. It literally takes about 4 minutes, but it is a wonderful trail. And look at what you are greeted with. It is really fantastic. Now, as I suspected earlier, the sun is coming in and out of clouds. You can see how everything is much more saturated and flat, and which really lends itself well to scenes like this, because we can then take advantage of like our polarizer and all this, that way and the other. But the main thing to look for here is just how many compositions there potentially are. While the waterfall is flowing and beautiful, and we will get a shot of that, there are all of these small little tiny little waterfalls that we can then utilize and take advantage of in our foreground to add lovely depth to the scene, because that's one thing that this place has is really fantastic depth. You've got all these lovely moss covered stones, and we will certainly use them to our advantage when taking our shots and setting up our shots. But let's set ourselves up and let's see about taking our first picture for today. So I have explored a little bit around. Now, the key to a place like this really is to not fall over, but is to really just get into the water. So I'm going to take my shoes and socks off, even though I love my boots and they're waterproof and everything, but it would just make for a very uncomfortable drive back if I got overflowed. And I did take a shot that it's okay, that I'll pop up as our first kind of test shot, we'll call it. But I think, like I say, shoes and socks off, so we're able to maneuver ourselves through the water a lot easier, give us a much freer range of motion. So let's do that. Welcome friends to the ASMR Photography Studio, and welcome to this absolutely wonderful waterfall. As far as test shots go, I was absolutely delighted when I seen this image on the back of the camera, and ultimately took the time then to go ahead and process it and figure to myself, as if test shots turn out this good, then the rest of the evening is going to be just as awesome. I am thrilled with how this first image turned out. I love that heavy anchor of that rock in the foreground. It really adds to entice the eye in through the frame. Super duper happy with how this one turned out, and that gorgeous light in the top left of the frame just beaming through. It's such a wonderful location, and one that I will be forever returning to because it's just so great. Really happy with the start of this one. Thankfully it's not deep really at all, so it's quite handy and it's fresh. If it was any other day, I'd probably be in swimming. Well, Orla would anyway. But what I'm looking to aim to achieve is to try and bring myself a bit more around, so I could just get a bit more of a front-facing kind of view of the two cascades here. So that's where I'm heading. Here's hoping I don't fall. I'll use my tripod as a walking stick. I have found a very nice composition here, very simple. I've actually put the camera really nice and low down so I can use this nice channel that I found to act as a leading line into these cascades. But what I wanted to convey here now is the sense of motion. When you're photographing water, sometimes it's nice to have like a 3-minute exposure and all of that kind of wild stuff when you're looking to really make things look nice and glassy. But if you were to do something like that for a scene like this, you run the risk of essentially making the water too silky, and therefore you lose some of that kind of nice texture that can be in the water. So all I have is my polarizer on at the moment, which is actually slowing the shutter enough for me to be, I'm at a 1/6 of a second. And what it does is just it slows the water down to convey that nice bit of motion, but what it also does then is it helps keep a slight bit of texture in that water as it's falling. And it really adds this beautiful etherealness to the entire frame. And like I say, with that funnel that I have here, it's really working out very nicely. But anyways, if it turns out to be any good, I'll pop it up on the screen and let's walk through it. Classic ASMR Photography Lab style. So keeping this anchor in mind, I again found this wonderful foreground to help bring us through the frame. Super happy with how this one turned out, and again, like that first image, that light in the top left just absolutely makes this entire scene for me. It's such a wonderful thing. As I mentioned throughout one of my mad ramblings, taking advantage of these foreground elements
really help finish these overall images and really help then bring the eye up and through the frame, ultimately to the cascades in the background. It's always worthwhile to take your time and play around with different compositions to get really low, really high, portrait orientation, landscape orientation. It's always worthwhile to take your time at a scene like this.
So, as you've probably seen me tentatively or sure-footedly as a mountain goat make my way across this water, my feet are now starting to go slightly numb, but it is worth it because it is gorgeous. And I have found my second composition here, and I'm really happy with it. I've actually using this nice small cascade here as a foreground, which then ultimately then leads us into the background. I might try and bring the camera up ever so slightly higher to see if it's possible that I can get the entirety of the cascades in the back in. But other than that, I'm super happy with it. It's a beautiful wide shot, so it's kind of taken in this grand scene and it's all very kind of pixie dust land. It's wonderful. But anyways, I'll stop rambling and I'll pop it up on the screen for you now if either of them turn out to be any good.
So I wasn't actually too sure if I was going to include this photograph in the video. After I took it, I was like, yeah, maybe. But it was only then when I brought it home to the computer and processed it. But it was ultimately when I applied the 16:9 crop to the image that I thought, oh yeah, I really do like that one. It's such a powerful tool at our disposal to crop images, to basically reorientate the frame. It stands so well in terms of helping us as the artist guide the viewer's eye through the frame. And for me, cropping at a 16:9 for this image really adds that wonderful panoramic feel to the frame. Super duper happy with how this one turned out. I really do love this frame.
So folks, this is absolutely magic. One thing that really draws me into photography is putting myself in situations like this where I'm completely immersed in a scene, and it is pure gold. For me, it's probably my favorite from the day. It's just, there's a lot more kind of energy to it, and I'm really digging it. So anyways, I'll pop it up on the screen for you now. And what I'm going to do is, when Orla and I visited last here, I didn't have any kind of telephoto lens. And as you know, I have my wonderful Tamron 100-400. And what I would like to try and do is go down the river a bit and see if I can manage to find a composition where I'm like all the way in at 400mm, looking up the river. Just to play around, because I don't know why I have it in my head that a shot like that could be nice. But I'm gonna go and swap lens and then have an amble down the water and see if we can find a shot there.
For me, this is my favorite shot. There is just so much energy to the entire frame, from that beautiful foreground element, that leading line all the way up to those two beautiful cascades in the background. And of course, again, that light is just so beautiful. The overall tones and saturation to the frame. I did play around with some focus stacks. And in the end, I didn't actually need them because of the height that I was at, but I certainly played around with different shutter speeds. As I mentioned earlier, one of the things to keep in mind, look at your shutter speed and how you can use that to your advantage when composing images like these. But overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I super love this one.
So I wandered down the water with my 100 to 400 and managed to capture some very nice images. Well, at least I hope they were nice. I really love the perspective the 100 to 400 gives, particularly in a scene like this, because it really helps lend itself well to create this beautiful sense of depth and kind of grandeur to a scene that's pretty kind of small. So if any of those images turned out to be any good, sure, look, I'll pop them up on the screen for you now and we'll have a look through them. As you can see, a few people have turned up behind us. It's a popular spot. Now that it's on Google, everybody knows how to come and get here. But yeah, so anyways, let's have a look at those images now.
Here are the results of me wandering down the river with my 100 to 400. I really like how these turned out. I think I was looking for something a little bit different, but as I was framing up these two images, I just really love the simplicity that they have. And of course then that wonderful bit of autumnal leaf in the foreground sitting on that rock. I swear to God, I didn't place it there at all. It really was there. The 100 to 400, as I mentioned earlier, really helps emphasize that beautiful kind of compression feel to the frame, and for me I think it lends itself perfectly to an image like these. It's just so great to be able to play around with focal lengths, and of course if you have the space and the time to be able to wander down and find different compositions and something different. A lot of the times people turn up at a scene like this, it is a popular spot nowadays, and just capture that one or two easy images, if you will. But when you have the opportunity to be able to wander down, and of course the capacity with a 100 to 400 lens, you're able to really capture something a bit more unique and just a bit more story driven, if you will. I really like that about these images. Super duper happy with how all of the images turned out at this location, and I really do love this spot. It's wonderful.
So folks, you know, my feet are freezing and wet, but what an absolutely wonderful experience that was. Now, the beautiful thing about a place like this, and one of the marvels of humanity in general, is that people leave shit behind. And I really wish they didn't. So, in lieu of a towel, I'm using some random jumper here to dry my feet. So that's what you get for leaving your jumper here. Here's hoping it doesn't have monkeypox or the bubonic plague. So anyway, I'm going to put my boots back on and we'll have a bit of more of a wander. So what a beautiful experience this has been. I got my feet wet, they got cold, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I hope I got some very nice images that does this place justice. It's a short hop from where me and Orla essentially grew up, maybe like a 30-40 minute drive, and it's one that will always be a mystery place, even though it's on Google Maps. But it is absolutely wonderful, and I would recommend, if you're anyway interested, to come and visit, because it is really special. But anyways, I will stop rambling. Oh, actually, but just before I stop rambling, you know, living in the Algarve for so long, because it's so hot down there, we never really had the opportunity to visit any kind of like cascades or waterfalls, you know, anything like this. It's so wildly different, like I mentioned earlier. So maybe next week we might see if we can find another waterfall, because there are a good handful of them here in Wicklow, and they're all so beautiful. So maybe next week we might have a venture off and see if we can find a different one. But for now, I will stop rambling. So please, folks, if you did like the video, absolutely give that thumbs up button, and now like, or hit that thumbs up button. And if you fancy following along for more of this Irish adventure we find ourselves on, then by all means, you are most welcome to hit that subscribe button. And there'll be links to newsletter and workshops and all that kind of good stuff below, so be sure to check them out. But for now, take it easy, everybody. Cheers.